Should you buy the Puma Court Rider Chaos Slash? At $100, you have to at least like the price. Let's check them out.
I-35 with the top down, quick to tell a hater they should get like me. Seem like everybody wanna be the boss, but it costs and these lames ain't shit like me. Drop a couple bands on the crypto fans, know my shit go. I ain't gotta tell them what it is. Tell them I'm a grown ass man, so you'll never fool me with the cap you be selling to the kids. Shorty, we the lords of the land, we wavy. Bad little mama tryna have a nigga baby.
Welcome back to our channel. Today we're going to be looking at the different performance aspects for this new Puma model by testing out the cushion, traction, support, and more. But first we'll go ahead and knock out some of the basic info, starting off with the price. So the Court Rider Chaos Slash is going to retail for the somewhat low price of $100. You know, that's not super cheap, but it's going to be on the more affordable side of the scale just for other basketball shoes out there. And when it comes to the design, Puma shoes tend to follow the same type of look, at least a lot of the time. And it's mostly because like that bigger like Puma logo always seems to like show up in that same spot on the side of the shoe. But this colorway is actually really nice today. Puma calls it like electric peppermint paired with like, I want to say like green lagoon or something like that. And I had like the neon orange colorway of the Why Not 6s. I want to say like that was a few weeks back. So I've really been trying to get some of those like more eye-catching color schemes lately, I guess. But it's going to be a pretty basic setup just as far as the details go from the front. You're just going to have Puma's logo there on the tongue. Then I'll take a second to kind of bring this up now. You've probably heard of like just like the straight up Puma Court Rider basketball shoe. I actually recently did a video breaking down the Court Rider 2.0. This is like some variation of that model. And it's, you know, kind of a dead giveaway with like Court Rider literally in the title for this model, but they actually tacked on Chaos Slash to this design, and that even came with the new little like logo, if you want to call it that. It shows up on the heel for these, and it kind of looks like it kind of makes out an S, but at the same time it's really just two Puma logos kind of like flipped on top of each other. And I thought that looked pretty tough. And it shows up a little bit more on the inner side, kind of worked into the midsole too for this design. I don't know, man. I just feel like Puma has the perfect balance of not trying to do too much on their shoes, but they still switch it up, but like changing it just enough when I almost always like, you know, the little tweaks that they do. Again, I'm going to be a big fan of these, but now we can kind of set all that to the side, take a closer look at how they hold up on the court. So now getting into more of the performance aspects, we'll start off looking at the cushioning. So the Chaos Slash gets a little bit of like a different setup compared to some other models that we've seen coming out of Puma right now. These are going to be using some Pro Foam, and that's just a lightweight EVA that's designed to cushion your landing and propel your next step. So Puma has played around with like a few different cushioning setups in their newer models. Like we see some Nitro, even some like Pro Foam Plus. This is like, you know, I guess how you would say the non-plus version of that Pro Foam. You know, with the $100 retail price, you kind of have to keep that in mind. And the same shoes like those Mellow Balls or the Clyde All Pro, something like that's also just, you know, going to be more expensive. So along with that, I will say that the cushion just isn't as padded as some other Puma shoes that I've been playing in. I mean, under your foot, it's still going to feel nice. There's nothing wrong with that, but you can just tell that the cushioning, it doesn't run all that deep. And, you know, these actually were fitting a little bit snug, and that gave me a better feel as for like the surrounding padding, which also wasn't too bad, but it was pretty much average. And using a durometer to check out the midsole, these were reading at a 40.5. That's on the slightly more firm side. And honestly, in this case, that paints a pretty good picture for how these shoes play. Cushion isn't going to be the highlight of this Puma model, especially compared directly to some other shoes within their brand, but for the price, they still offer a nice feel. So now getting into more of the materials and the support, the bulk of the upper on the Chaos Slash is made out of Puma's Performance Mesh, and you can see like all those holes covering most of the shoe aside from like, you know, the logo that's on the actual side of the shoe. But the mesh always kind of leads to great airflow, and that is going to be true on these from front to back too. You can just see it there. And using a mesh material, that also tends to help keep shoes on the lighter side, but these did weigh in at 460 grams for a size 10.5. That's kind of right on brand for Puma though. Aside from like the TRC Blaze Court, which was crazy light, all of their shoes kind of sit in that low to mid 400 range, which is still a good place to be because I feel like that allows for like a good balance of a lighter shoe that you can like move really quick in, but also you have like a more sturdy model to help with support. And that's a good spot, and that's another spot, I mean, that the Chaos Slash just continues to check those boxes for the most part. Like the lateral containment is great. You can actually like see the laces running through these darker blue overlays. So keeping your shoes tight should help with like, you know, any type of side-to-side movement, keeping that to a minimum. And that's honestly what I felt. Plus, you do have that Puma logo that kind of acts like a barrier to keep your foot from shifting outside of the model. But the one spot that I did have some minor concern on was just like the heel. I wasn't getting it every time, but my heel did slide once or twice, just my first few times playing in them. And, you know, I had them all the way laced up to the top, but I am just going to kind of keep that, or at least keep an eye out for that going forward, because everywhere else, they did feel great from a support standpoint. Finishing off with traction, it's incredibly rare for Puma to struggle with this section. I almost feel like they've cracked the code. First off, I really do love the pattern. Like if you take a close look at the outer side, they found a way to use a herringbone pattern that's actually using Puma's text, and I thought that was pretty sweet. But for the actual materials, the Chaos Slash is using Puma's high abrasion rubber outsole. It doesn't really say anything about these being the non-slip rubber compound, and I only bring that up because that's what I want to say the Mellow Balls, like the Rise Nitro, TRC, most of those models had been using, and it always seemed to play so great for me. And yet again, we have a Puma basketball shoe where traction is just going to be the selling point. The Chaos Slash has crazy bite on the court. This is another model though that just isn't making a ton of noise. So that does lead me to believe that this compound must be a little bit different compared to those other shoes because they just made a lot more noise on the court, just like squeak wise. But they also had like more issues collecting dust. To my surprise a little bit, these didn't really struggle with that. The traction was just kind of great all the way around, and the grooves are pretty durable too, so outdoors is definitely in play. But finishing off with the sizing, I went true to size. I haven't had to do this in a while, but I probably would recommend going a half size up. Like I said earlier, they do squeeze your foot, and that doesn't tend to bother me, but it is, more noticeable on these. So for some people out there that like more room to play in or extra room to play in, you may be able to get away with going a full size up. But overall, I mean, this is just another solid basketball shoe from Puma. I feel a little bit biased, but like in a good way towards Puma because you need shoes with traction to be able to play on the court. Like I see it every week. If you're sliding around on the court and like you can't make a quick first step, that is a problem, especially if you're guarding me. I'm just kidding, but like Puma shoes, they just never really suffer from that problem, which I love. And support also seems to be right there. Cushion is about what you'd expect, maybe even slightly better for the $100 retail price. So should you buy the Puma Court Rider Chaos Slash? I'd say so. Thank you guys for taking some time to watch. Feel free to throw some follow or a sub if you like this video. And if you're interested in buying these shoes and you want to support our channel, just click the link here on screen, or we have links down below or in our bio. Feel free to check that out. But that wraps up this review. Until next time, I'm Landon from Shoewear. Peace.